Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah amma bad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to episode 3 of the new Akhihood Couch Talk podcast. I'm going to pass it over to the host today, Mr. Faris. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Hello everyone. Today the topic of discussion, topic of the couch talk today is one that's dear to my heart, dear to everybody in the room, dear to most of the Ummah, dear to just humanity in general, I'd say. Anger. And just starting off, give the boys a quick question, and I want everybody to just give a one-worded answer. All right? So the first question of the day is, what does Islam teach about anger? What's it?
You want one word?
I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
I was
one
gonna
word
say
answer,
One
one word
word
answer.
is
I'll-
crazy, but
I thought of one word.
I've got a word.
Limited.
Limited. Adam.
Can I do 2 words?
Sure.
Composure, lad.
that's not fair.
Okay, fine. Composure.
Go on. Okay, so we've got limited
Lad-
composure.
lad
Hamid, what you got?
Oh my god, I thought about it like 20 seconds ago. I forgot. Control.
Control. It's very interesting. Now I'd like each of you to explain
What's your word?
what's my word.
Yeah.
It is patience.
Sabah.
Patience. But I want you, all of you to explain why you chose that word. So
Okay. Limited. There should be limits to how angry you get, and I think you already said control, but again, it sort of goes hand in hand. But you shouldn't go overboard, and essentially just limit your anger. Anger can be justified. It can also be unjustified, but don't let it overpower you.
interesting. Adam or Muhammad? Okay, Muhammad.
I said control because you need to know how to control your anger. I think it takes a real man to control his anger. Someone that doesn't know how to control their anger, you can learn how to do it, but it's a bit childish if you don't know how to. And I don't believe that. Being.
Sorry. You're childish.
Thank you.
Can you come a bit closer as well, please?
Oh, this is what we do. There you go. That's much better.
Thank you.
I think. Is it better?
I don't
That
know.
looks better from this angle.
Thank you. Control, yeah. So, controlling your anger. I don't think you should never be angry. I think being angry sometimes is good to an extent when it's justified. Controlling yourself. Do you know what I mean? Knowing when to be angry, how much to be angry, how angry.
Thank you for that. Adam.
I picked composure because I believe the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he was angry and when he became angry, he was still composed. And I don't believe he ever went above or beyond the limits of anger.
Thank you all for your
You-
explanations.
He didn't give his answer.
No, I was about to get to it.
Okay, cool.
I think
Let
all,
the host.
Sorry,
I think
micromanaging.
all of us have
Getting angry.
words that are all ways to control anger. And for me, why I chose patience is because I feel like whatever the situation is, whether you're sad, whether you're angry, whether you're confused, whether like most emotions, patience is always the medicine to them, And I think in any situation where you might be confronted with a calamity, patience is the best thing to go forward with, and I believe it's like a big factor within the sunnah for us to take from. Whether it's, one of you guys are probably going to mention this today, but there's a very famous hadith about the Sahaba wrestling inside the masjid, and the Nabi walked in and he saw them, and then he's like, "What are you guys doing?" And wrestling inside the masjid, you're going to be like, "Oh, what's going on? The Prophet is watching us. What are we going to do? How can we explain ourselves?" And they're just the explanation at the end of the day, or excuse, was that, "Oh, we're just seeing who's the man amongst us. Who's the big guy, who's the strong guy." And Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, the one of you who's the strongest or the man in particular is the one who keeps calm when anger overtakes him, the one who controls his tongue. And that just goes to show that a fat medicine to anger all the time usually is patience, whether that's patience within your actions, with your tongue, or with your thoughts. But that's why I picked patience.
Yeah, I was gonna say as well. Patience is the key to happiness. I think so. When you're patient, automatically you'll become happy. That's just from experiencing it.
I think contentment as well is key to
Yeah,
happiness. Yeah.
Definitely.
And that goes hand in hand with patience.
Yeah. Tawakkul, patience, all of that together.
And is there any personal stories from like your own lives or examples that you've seen like day to day where you've had to use limited composure? Forgive me, Mohammed. Do you mind reminding me what?
Control.
Control, yeah.
We know that because controlling himself there.
I forgot mine. Yeah,
Me and Adam, we play in defense.
It's true. It's true. Everything you're about to say, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, no, just on a brief note, I feel like in terms of football, we just like we might have different ways of how we want to play the match. I don't like to get frustrated at players. Adam might let his frustration out, but it's sometimes justified. But I would like to be patient as well. I encourage players to press. Adam says, "Let us chill." It's very, very funny, but
We have
ultimately,
we have two.
we end up having good results.
Conflicting ideologies.
We have two complete opposite
Yeah.
ideologies when it comes to football. But alhamdulillah, if I'm being honest, I take the mick out of him. I say, I'll put a petition. I don't want to be on his team anymore. All of this. And we always end up on the same team.
Yeah.
But there's no other centre back or even defender that comes to that session that I wouldn't rather be on the same team with. Because alhamdulillah, he's a very solid player. Even though he pushes the hell out of me and makes me run after everything, he's Allah Barik, very, very solid. But he's right. Like, I think like football, for example, is one of the biggest things I get heated over
Yeah.
and get angry about. And to link it to composure, one of the times I remember, and it's something so minor when you look back at it, and but at the moment it seems so big. And I'll give you a quick brief story of when a brother, he was new to the session, one of the Akhihood sessions that alhamdulillah we've been running for a long time, as you all know. And if people are interested, then I'm just gonna quickly plug it.
West London's been.
Oh, West London just got.
That's it.
Whoa,
Man.
West London just
You
got
failed
finished.
us.
Yeah, West London's locked off. You failed us.
No, not Mohammed. Not Mohammed. Not Mohammed.
But no, we'll try to bring West London back if there is, demand.
Inshallah.
I'll bring it
But
back.
at the
Inshallah.
yeah,
we'll be there.
Inshallah.
Trust me.
but
That's
at the
something
moment we
to
have it in
bring
East London. So if you're interested, come to the East London sessions. Inshallah, you want to find out more, you go join our group chats, be part of the community, and you'll always see the weekly drop. But anyway, I went on a little tangent. Let me bring it back. So we're at the weekly football session, and I've been going to this fair up session before it was even Akhihood related for like 3-4 years. So we've been there from the start. And a new brother came, and I don't know him. And alhamdulillah, normally we're very welcoming to new brothers, but when someone comes with a chip on their shoulder, I was gonna say shoulder, ready to just hurt players,
Yeah.
and it really bothered me. And I was like, you know what, stay calm, and I'm gonna learn from the editing that the editor done. When I mentioned his name, he copped that out. So the editor, rather than naming him, would always tell him before sessions, look, you can't get angry, because if you lose your head in these sessions, you're essentially one of the people leading it. It's not gonna work going forward. So he would always drum that into my head before the session. And anyway, I'm at the session now, and this brother's just moving reckless, like slide tackles. We don't allow slide tackles, injuring players, fouling people on purpose. And what I believe for it to be on purpose, at least. Although you should have husnul dhan and believe otherwise. But yeah, so this person now is being reckless, and he kicked me straight in the back of my leg, and it hurt. And I turned around and I wanted to say something so bad, and I was like, leave it. And then to add to it, he grabbed me and he went, "You good, Ak?" When someone does that,
Sticking a mick,
you know you're walking away. Someone bro, imagine walking away, and I pull you back and "You good, Ak?"
I can't lie.
He's getting angry on your behalf.
Yeah, he said it to me, and I was
He's
just
cracking
like,
his neck.
bro, every bone in my body, I wanted to just say, "Are you mad? What are you talking about?" And I was just like, you know what? The editor's in my head. I was like, leave it. I said, because this is Akhihood, leave it. But in reality, it should have been, because this is Islam, because we're brothers in Islam, leave it. But we're working our way to that, day 8 of sobriety.
SubhanAllah, and that leads on to what you told me as well. You told me something where you said blood is thicker than water, but Iman is thicker than blood. That was the one, innit?
Yeah.
So realizing that brother that kicked you in the back, he made that mistake. At the end of the day, he's still a Muslim. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
And the beauty of it?
Yeah.
I reckon if I had lost my head, what happened after would have never happened. And after the match, he came and said, "Brother, you know what? I did kick you. It was I apologize, etc." But if I had lost my head, for example, and let's say fought him or whatever, because it relates to the hadith you mentioned. It's not about your strength.
Yeah.
That's not what makes a strong man. Yeah, we could have fought. Maybe he would have won. Maybe I would. That would have proved nothing. It would have proved we're just two hotheads playing football. But to be able to walk away, like I don't do it often, but alhamdulillah, at that time I was able to, and I think it comes back to composure. And what would have happened after would have never happened if I lost my head. Whereas now, like I speak to him, like he messages me every now and again. I message him every now and again. I won't say we're like this, but we speak, you know. And alhamdulillah, that's because of just being composed in a moment of anger. I just like Clary, I don't want to give credit to myself for that. That's probably the editor for just putting it in my head every time before a football match.
Does our beloved fish not want to be named?
He doesn't want to be named.
Oh,
But he didn't say he doesn't want to be named. What happened was we named him in the first episode, and he cut it out
Yeah.
and skipped it to the part where it said editor.
Yeah, I noticed that as well.
Yeah, I
Oh,
noticed
yeah,
that.
yeah,
He
yeah.
thought no one was gonna notice his editing.
I can think of just in general personal stories. I've always just like that benefited. I've realized the benefit of not retaliating immediately. But sometimes that can have a negative effect on you as well, because if you just stay quiet, a lot of people have this saying. They say the person that's most quiet, when they don't make them angry, because they'll be the loudest.
Yeah.
So there has to be some form of balance, but again, just not letting it out on someone that and you're coming off incredibly rude or anything like that. But I've always seen benefit from just biting my tongue and just staying quiet. And I can't think of any. There's many examples, but I can't think of like main ones that I want to just talk about.
I've got many examples as well, but the one that kind of clicks for me, like growing up, as far as you obviously knew, like I was just you know, dumb. Do you know what I mean? Like I would get triggered very quickly, and I was very impatient. I'm still a bit impatient, but definitely better than before. You would agree, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And
Are you being forced to agree?
No, there's a change.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Day 7.
I'm on like month like. But I'll wait for you. Don't worry.
I was going to be seeing stuff since, but anyway.
So this would happen within my own household. Like I would get annoyed very quickly. This is when I was in my teens, you know, growing up. And then it got to a time like, alhamdulillah for Faris, I'm not gonna lie, he got me like closer to Allah. He helped me. Like he's the big factor why I got closer to Allah. And like problems would happen in my house. And then this one time it happened. It was like family drama, do you know what I mean? Like within the household, shouting, arguing, whatever. And I just kept my cool and I left the house. And when I left the house, subhanAllah, I remember my mom, bless her, she called me, she's like, oh, like, what, you don't like your family? You're running away? I said, Mom, I left the house because I wanted to calm down. This is something new to her. And I told myself, like, I want to leave before I'm because I was impulsive, do you know what I mean? I want to leave before I say something to my older brother, do you know what I mean? Or to my dad or to my mom or to my little sister, do you know what I mean? Like, say something that I'll regret later on, which I would. And then ever since that, I just learned, like, it's not that deep. Like, calm down. Like, you shout, you insult someone or whatever, you're not gonna benefit. If anything, you're adding fuel to the flame. So yeah, that's one thing that I told myself to control myself. Do you know what I mean? Like, take yourself out of the situation, calm down, come back in. Alhamdulillah, like, I kind of like disciplined myself to the point where I don't even need to leave the house. Like, I'll just be chilling. Do you know what I mean? Like people will be shouting or whatever, I'll just be sitting there like chilling. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you know this,
Is it worth it? Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not that deep.
That feeling of regret is worse than the feeling of anger.
Worst feeling.
So you never want to feel regret anyway. So
You know, Ali
definitely-
radiallahu an
Yeah.
used to say, anger starts with craziness and ends with regret, which is
Oh.
exactly what you're mentioning. And something you mentioned earlier about people usually say, what was it you mentioned about the quiet person that they
yeah. They're the one. They eventually lash out.
Yeah,
if
but
they're triggered
do you
too
know
much.
Do you know that remind me of? There's an Arabic saying, and I'm not gonna say in Arabic because I probably can't. But in English, it goes along the lines of the person who is always lashing out, and the person who's just a hothead. They will never be taken seriously
Yeah.
when it actually comes to time of them actually being angry. But the person who their nature is to be cheerful and to be happy, when they are angry, the anger is more significant and
Yeah.
they are taken more seriously.
Yeah.
So I don't even think they're louder. I just think it's noticed more because it's not within their nature. And when they are doing it and when they are angry, you got to take it seriously because they're never usually angry. So something must have really,
Triggered it.
or gone wrong.
Yeah, from my understanding, that's similar to Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, where it was quite rare for him to be very angry, and there were occasions where I think he would become sort of reddish. I'm not entirely sure of the actual particular occasion, but then that's when obviously people would always take him seriously, but people were very aware that they may have done something to anger him.
Yeah.
So just very similar to that.
Yeah.
It's like you're better off being that composed, calm person. So if your anger does ever come out, you are respected and known to be a calm person. So if it does come out, it needs to be taken extra seriously.
Yeah.
The anger's justified.
Yeah, exactly. There
it's
you go.
justified. Yeah.
Justify anger.
In terms of your description, I know the reddish part is
Yeah.
true, but I also heard that he used to have a vein
The
that
vein
used to
part, yeah.
appear on his
Yeah.
forehead when he was angry. And one thing I heard, which I thought was really profound, in fact, on the drive here, I do my little research on the drive here, got my notes in front of me. But one thing I heard was, so the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he was never ever angry for himself. He was angry when it came to people going against the religion of Islam or going against the prohibitions of Allah. Now, the one thing I heard when it was really, which I found was really profound, was you can't be angry for the sake of Allah and have the manners of shaitan when you're angry.
That's a good one.
There's a way of being angry.
Yeah.
There's things to do when you're angry. And if you're angry for the sake of Allah, someone's gone against the deen, okay, fine. Maybe it's just, but if you now, it depends on how you now approach that anger. If you just go on a crazy one, start swearing at them, etc., what manners have you now addressed this anger with, or addressed the situation with? You've taken the manners of shaitan. How can you now defend, the deen of Allah when you've taken on different manners of, shaitan? But I just found that statement really profound.
That's a cold one. I can't lie.
It's the research.
That's a good one.
And to be fair, you acted upon what he said without even clocking it. Because when, in that moment where you were angry in your household, you did the first thing that you could, which is walk out before you do anything bad. If you lash out, or if you say anything bad, And touching on this topic, we go to the next question
Wait, what was your one? You didn't give your story.
of patience.
Yeah.
I gave a hadith, bro. That's the best story there is.
Yeah, 100%. But your experience, you need your personal
Yeah,
experience.
you said personal experience.
Because
Yeah.
so I was thinking about
He's angry right now.
relationships
Ah,
as well. For some people, there is advice given to people. For example, if you're going to be very, very angry in a household and it's just you and your spouse, then for some people, what they say is like keep your shoes at the front door in case you need to go out, and actually collect yourself before you come back. So never let yourself lash out in the moment. Sometimes getting that fresh air, getting that walk might save the relationship. So
Can I change my word?
Of course.
Discipline.
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 that's cheap.
Actually, I take it
No,
back.
Control. Actual control as well.
Control.
I'm not going to speak about the spouse stuff because I think us three
Yeah.
are very much inexperienced when it comes to that.
You're
But
married.
stop trying this. But and I think you'll know the answer because I don't know the exact hadith or story, or any of you two really, of three, sorry. Wasn't there a time when someone was cursing the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to him,
Oh,
and Abu Bakr or maybe I don't know what Sahaba came
Yeah.
to defend him, and the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam walked away, and the Sahaba went to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam afterwards, and he said to him, "Do you know what I'm talking about?"
I was gonna say a different one.
Okay,
I know a different one.
Of the
that-
rabbi.
It was, they said Sim alaykum instead
Yeah.
of Salamu
Yeah.
alaykum.
oh yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
And it was, is that the one that you're thinking
No,
about?
no,
Okay,
so-
carry
so-
on.
As in,
Yes.
That's why we say wa alaykum. He's getting angry. And that's why you would respond with wa alaykum instead of wa alaykum assalam.
Yeah.
But I want Adam to finish this one.
So if I'm not mistaken, and if I am mistaken, someone correct me in the comments. Or, but when the Sahaba approached the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said, "Why did you walk away?" He said, "Because when those two people, I'm very careful now what I'm about to say,
Yeah.
'cause I don't want to misquote it, but
Of course.
when there's two people arguing, the third person is shaitan. So for that reason, I didn't argue with him, but when you came to argue back, the third person came, which was shaitan. So I wanted to leave that because I didn't want to be where shaitan was. I don't know how authentic that is, but there is something I heard. So inshallah, maybe someone can fact check it in the comments.
Inshallah.
So I think we can establish here that one of the advised actions when dealing with anger is walking away from the situation.
Yeah.
So just wanted to give a question to the brothers. What are some other medicines to anger that you may know of?
Ooh,
That's a good one.
I think there's a few. You,
Plenty, yeah.
yeah.
What was first?
Medicines to anger.
You did say plenty.
Quran. Yes. Reciting it or listening to it. Making wudu, that wudu, that coolness of the wudu. Make sure it's cold water, not hot water. That coolness of wudu, I think, cools you down immediately. If you're sat down, say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem and maybe stand up. If you're stood up, sit down. And then you can lay
There's
down.
the other, it's
multiple.
If you're
multiple
standing,
ways.
sit down. If you're
Yeah.
sitting, lie down.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. I want to say all the remedies. I think you guys can say some remedies as well.
Breathe.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Just
People forget to breathe.
Exhale. Inhale and exhale. Literally what you say. I can't imagine one out of shaitan regime.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's shaitan
Yeah.
in your head.
Yeah.
No, you mentioned it, but I know a brother who used to do wudu every time he was angry,
Yeah.
and it was quite funny. I know he was doing it as a remedy, but it was quite funny because you just see him just banging wudu randomly.
Aggressively
Yeah, just
making
randomly
wudu,
just
yeah.
banging wudu. Like, but it helps because he would do it straight away, and then you wouldn't see him angry, and he'd be like, "Yeah, I'm calm now." And it's cold water, definitely not hot water.
Yeah.
You know, hot water might just heat you up a bit more. But yeah, I think they mentioned a fair amount.
I think one from me that I've seen in my day-to-day life, one from my mother in particular, whenever she's frustrated with me or I've done something stupid and she's angry, what she tends to do is make dua for me, even though like it's in a
Oh, I've got a really good one.
it's in like an impatient tone.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, I drop a plate and it breaks or something like that. She's like, Allah yahdik.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something that inshallah I hope to take on board even with my own family one day, inshallah.
Inshallah.
That's an effective one.
Yeah. Back to our previous podcast of the power of dua from the parents. But what I was thinking of, there was a man became an imam one day because whenever he would misbehave, his mother would say, "May Allah make you an imam." He was known to be really, really naughty, like a really naughty kid, even up until he was like young adolescence and stuff like that. But then through that dua, instead of actually making dua against him, because if she did make dua against him, it may have been accepted. She made dua for him, and then he became an imam one day, and quite a significant position as well in a major masjid as well. So that's very nice. May Allah preserve and protect your mother.
You know the one you just mentioned, how instead of making dua against, they would make dua for them. And it's really interesting because that's what the Prophet Muhammad SAW would do. Instead of, so I'll give you a story when it was Abdullah bin Mas'ud. He walked upon the Prophet SAW walked upon the companions and he saw them taking the mick out of his legs, how skinny his legs are. And instead of, the Prophet SAW getting onto the other companions, what he did instead was elevate Abdullah bin Mas'ud, and he said, "You're laughing at his legs, but I have seen his legs are the size of Uhud on the Day of Judgment." And Allah knows that there's power in these legs, and these legs are powerful. So instead of disregarding the other people, who would elevate people. And another story what I have, which is the exact same thing, where the Prophet Muhammad SAW elevated them, was when Aisha radiallahu anha, she was going to a discussion with the Prophet SAW, and she said, the Prophet Muhammad SAW used to mention Khadija radiallahu anha throughout his whole life, even after she had passed. And Aisha radiallahu anha, she turned around and said, "Are you still talking about this toothless old woman when verily you've got better? Then in terms of herself, you've now got better." And the Prophet ﷺ was furious, angry. And he said, "Wallahi, I've not got better." And then instead of now saying, "Oh, no, you don't do this, Aisha, you don't do this," instead he elevated the status of Khadija radiallahu anha and said, "She believed in me when no one did. She provided me support when no one else did." And just kept elevating her. She was the only one that gave me children. No one else did. And I think that's something very important, because when you see someone cussing someone else, rather than going straight for them, elevate the person that they're cussing. You don't need to now fall into the characteristics or the mannerisms of shaitan. You elevate the person instead. And I think it just links perfectly with what you said about the dua, both what both of you said. Sorry.
No, just Muhammad looks really
Muhammad looks like he got
No,
something
no,
valid to say.
I'm contemplating.
contemplated. We're sure the listeners and the viewers are contemplating as well, inshallah.
Yeah, hopefully.
Inshallah.
So yeah, touching on how we already talked about the medicines of it, what are some of the dangers or after effects of anger then?
Oh, let me get my phone out.
Yo, yeah.
Until you get found out, we'll go from youngest now. So, I'm not gonna lie, relationships with family, friends, and stuff, it can tarnish relationships.
Family ties, yeah?
Yeah, not to the point where like you cut ties completely, but it's them ones where you can literally say something and that person will remember it for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's happened to me a few times where like someone has said something to me, I've said something to someone,
Yeah.
and like till this day I apologize to him. Like, remember that thing? Like, I feel bad.
It doesn't leave you. Yeah.
And you always criticize me for that as well. You know when like you're like, bro, it's not that deep. I'm like, nah, bro, but like this and that. You're like, bro, it's petty. Like it's not that deep. Yeah, I know, but it eats me up inside. You know what I mean? Now, when at the time when it was said, I don't really care. Even like days after, I didn't really care. But then over time, like disciplining myself and like improving my character, like over time, it's like even now, like I'm thinking of stuff and it's really annoying me. Like because it was unnecessary. Do you know what I mean? Like in the moment you think it is necessary, but then later on it's regret. It's big regrets. Because then you think to yourself like, on Yawm al-Qiyamah, is this person going to stand in front of me and say, Allah, he said this to me.
Yeah.
He did this to me.
Well, then,
That's the regret.
have you reached out to these people?
Yeah.
And you sought forgiveness.
Yeah.
And you sought,
I'm
and you did
not
tawbah
talking
to
about people
Allah and
that-
sought forgiveness.
He
and
mentioned
stuff
like
that.
when he sees them to this day,
Yeah.
he's
Oh,
still
it's just like a
apologizing.
memory. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Like I'm
Yeah.
talking like
But that's
even
just a
someone,
very nice characteristic. of
Yeah,
it.
and
I
I
think you
think
shouldn't be
that's-
too hard.
I
on
think that's
yourself,
too much
though,
as well.
Yeah.
I agree, but I can't help it. Do you know what I mean? Like
It takes accountability.
even-
It takes accountability.
even with him, like we've literally grown up together. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes I'll say stuff to him. It's like, huh? What did you say? No, but like even like him, I'll be like, remember this and that, and then
Yeah.
it's not that deep. And it is like I feel bad.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I would definitely say it can ruin relationships as well. Alhamdulillah, my ones, they haven't been ruined. Like, unfortunately, I'm stuck with you for life. I'm joking. But it can. It definitely can. Alhamdulillah, the people around me that I have said things to, if they've said stuff to me, they're not the types to hold grudges. Do you know what I mean? They're Muslim. Like you said, Iman is thicker than blood. Same exact thing. They've forgiven and forgotten as well. But yeah, it does lead to regret as well.
Any other after effects? Would they have
Oh
dangers?
yeah, I've got a list. I was thinking about how it affects your health. So it can cause increased blood pressure. It can cause heart disease. It can impact your immune system. It can weaken your immune system. It can cause chronic inflammation. It can impact your mental health, increasing anxiety and depression, cognitive impairments, having problems with your digestive system, your respiratory system as well, some breathing problems, sleep disruption, insomnia. It can cause weight gain, and it can also cause social isolation. So do your best to not get anger. And that's also, I think, sometimes repressed anger. Repressed anger, I think, can have, so for example, you're not letting it out.
Oh, okay.
You're not speaking about it. Like, you might have something that makes you very, very angry, and you did well to not act out on it, but then at one point you thought, oh, you know what, this actually really annoyed me. I didn't have anyone to talk to about it. And I feel like with us, we might talk about something that angered us, but we have each other to talk about it. So that doesn't cause any repression, which is good, but a lot of health issues it can cause.
So it's good to vent.
Good to vent.
Yeah.
I feel like you gotta be careful with venting though.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
You don't want to ever turn it into, especially when it's with against someone. You're
Yeah,
angry with someone. You
backbiting,
don't
yeah.
ever want to turn it to backbiting.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's why it's also good, and I think you lot mentioned it to be able to speak to Allah. you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't actually. I came prepared, but I didn't come that prepared. So
That was the only thing I wanted to prepare for.
okay, khala, he's
He
covered
got-
me
I
for that
can't
one.
lie, I saw his face. He got excited the moment.
Yeah,
he said
I
it.
was
He
waiting
I
for
got
you
my
to
phone.
But it sounded like a poem at one point.
Thank you, I was reciting.
Assalamu
But
Yeah, but Khala, you're gonna have to say it.
God, are you once?
Please.
No,
What?
no, no.
Long back,
Even
the voice
if
is
it's
going
not-
to Khala.
even-
Assalamu alaikum. That's it. That's what I was.
The other part.
Alright, just order something. Order something.
Yeah.
I'm not ordering anything, man. Fairs, host, please carry on.
if the viewers enjoyed that and listeners enjoyed that, then please comment down asking what you wanted to say next episode, inshallah.
Why is he getting angry?
Hey, why?
Why you
Faz-
shouting?
faz-
I'm
faz o
laughing.
esquina,
I'm
bro.
literally.
First, where's the shout?
Just a cat.
Faz
I
o
don't
shouting,
know why he's shouting. I don't know why he's
Editor, where's the shouting us?
But yeah, just on that question of trying to avoid the mic. On that same question of what are the dangers and effects of anger, I just wanted to touch upon this one story that I heard from Ustad Abdul Rahman Hassan on the AMAU YouTube channel. It was quite profound, and I think it fits the situation and in the context of this question. So there was a man called Jabal Ibn al-Ayham. I don't know if you guys have heard of him before. Heard of him?
No.
Okay, so this man, he was from a big tribe in Medina, or at the time Yathrib, and his tribe was called Awladu Jafna. Now this tribe, they were known for, number one, being rich in Medina, and of course being in Medina itself, you're also neighbors with many different people like Jews, non-Muslims and whatsoever. But this specific tribe, they were known for, why? Because they helped the Ansar. Okay, they helped the Ansar whenever they had issues with their neighbors and whatnot. And Jabal was the last leader of this tribe. Now, he chose to end or relinquish his kingdom. Why? Because he wanted to embrace Islam. And at his time, when he embraced Islam, Umar radiallahu anhu was the Khalif of the Muslims at the time, and he was the Muslim leader. And when Jabal insisted that he wanted to embrace Islam, he decided that he was going to bring a large entourage with him to Medina to discuss his conversion. And Umar invited him with open arms to Medina. And knowing that the city is Medina, he thought that the second he walks into the city, sees the people embrace him, the women and children laughing and happy of this great leader, this rich leader who's coming to join the Ummah. So yeah, he came to Medina, and when he was discussing his conversion with Umar at the time, he stated that he also wanted to partake in Hajj. And of course, Umar was like, "You're more than welcome to do Hajj with us this year." And he ended up doing exactly that, doing Hajj. And this is where the issue started and where this story relates to anger. Okay. While he was doing Hajj, in the moment of doing Tawaf, a man from a rival tribe stepped on his ihram. His ihram dropped, and Jabal insisted on turning around and slapping him across the face. News of this reached the people of Medina, and it reached to Umar himself. When this reached him, he insisted that he wants to speak to Jabal himself. He insisted that Jabal come to Medina and they discuss what happened. The people from the man who stepped on his ihram's tribe insisted that they either wanted blood money or like just to talk things out, inshallah. So Jabal came to Umar, and Umar told him, there's two conditions upon what you have done that you can fix the situation. And that is, pay him and make him a happy man, bring him and make him happy, or I will do what you did to him, which was slapping him across the face. Jabal, because he used to be a leader of his people, and he was a king, it takes a lot of humility to accept that. And in his moment of anger, he decided, I will give you my answer tomorrow. So he walked away from the situation. Now, he's in the wrong. We know he's in the wrong. And yet he's still angry and, insisting that he's not in the wrong. But nevertheless, he left the situation. So the next day, he sent a delegate to speak to Umar, and he told him, I have two conditions that I will give to you before I accept the conditions that you have given me. Number one was that I marry your daughters. And number two is that when you, just before you pass away, you write a letter telling the Muslims that I will become the next Khalif of the Muslims. Instantly, of course, Umar rejected these conditions, but mainly due because of the second one was not in his hands. I can't promise that you'll be the next leader of the Muslims. And because of this, Jabal left the Muslim lads and he apostated. And he traveled all the way to the Roman Empire and lived there for a really, really long time. Pretty much the rest of his life. A couple years down the line, a man from Medina who knew of his tribe visited the Roman Empire just to do trade and usual business. And the Romans at the time told him, "Oh, you are one of the Arabs. One of you lives amongst us, but he's not a Muslim. Come see him." And when he went to go see him, he said, "I am a descendant of Jabal. We are living in riches. We are Allah has given us so much, even though we've apostated, you know. And just from the story in itself, one incident where a moment of anger took over this man in front of the Kaaba doing Tawaf at Hajj, led his entire descendants and family lineage to not only apostate from Islam, but I mean, we know what dangers of that is. And you know, and it was only from a moment of anger that the domino effect to his entire lineage being, you know, finished essentially.
That's crazy. I can't know.
Yeah.
That's mad.
SubhanAllah.
So yeah, I just wanted to tell you guys that story because that angers, it leads to many doors of not only, you know, sadness, but it destroys you as a person. It destroys you, a person and as a Muslim.
Yeah. We don't realize how many people it destroys around us as well.
I think context was important, so thanks for saying that context as well.
Yeah.
And another thing is like we don't realize the value of these ustads, so may Allah preserve the ustads as well.
Ameen.
That we have.
I mean,
So from that heavy story, we'll go into the next question.
Brilliant.
Inshallah.
And I got deep.
Very deep, yeah.
I got deep.
You know, as he was telling it, I was there with them. I was just like,
I was thinking, I want to see Jabal.
yeah.
I don't know if you want to see him anymore. At the start of the story, I did.
Yeah.
No, but I wanted to
Further.
encourage him, like, brother, come back, man.
Okay, how can we as Muslims utilize anger in a positive way in our communities?
Oh, very good question.
Okay, can I go?
Of course.
If you're angry that, for example, you believe a people have been oppressed, and if you're angry that you know, I don't know, so it could be anything. You know, you believe, let's say a certain people have been oppressed, for example, Muslims, then you use that anger at the start as motivation. Eventually, motivation dies, so it has to become discipline. But you use it at the start as motivation to learn the deen, because if you know the deen, you're able to again elevate the people that you believe are oppressed. You use that anger as a means of motivation to better yourself, to start something like Akhihood. Not that we're this amazing thing, but to stop looking away when Adam's talking. Stop looking away when Adam's talking.
Stop looking away when others
But you use that anger, as definitely a motivation. I think. I don't think. I feel like that question you want us to say when, okay, not you specifically, but you want us to say when, you should, you know, condemn this, or you should go against these people. Use that anger to. I don't think that always should be the case. I think sometimes you need to tone it in, or rein it in rather, a little bit, and use that anger as a means of good, to do goodness. Use it as motivation, I think.
Agreed. Yeah. Fuel.
Just the cherry on top.
Fuel.
Yeah.
Diesel.
Oh, did you have one?
Relax after.
You want to repeat the question? So
How
I'm
can
very
we
clear with that.
utilize anger in a positive way in our communities?
Positive in our communities? I mean, what Adam
You
touched
could say
upon
no,
is
by the way. You could say no.
You could say no, but I'm trying to think of a positive way. I'm thinking about youth. If they're doing something that's very, very bad against the deen, or just against their parents, against teachers, or anything like that, because if they continue like that, it's very likely to continue for the rest of their life, or they'll find difficulty in turning back to Allah as well. That's how I think. One thing I've learned recently is that when you turn away from Allah, then you're given a qareen, and that's a very, we all have a qareen that might give waswas to us.
Just for those who
Yeah.
might
I
not
don't know. Yeah. Explain what qareen is.
Do you want to explain?
No, I insist you.
A qareen is essentially like a shaitan kind of witness with you that might give you waswas, whispers essentially, and make you do negative things. And also, you never blame it. 'Cause even a lot of people blame the shaitan, but shaitan only just, he might just encourages, but you're the one that decided to go do that specific thing.
There's an ayah in the Quran.
Yeah.
Do you know that ayah?
Yeah, it's about Yawm al-Qiyamah.
Go for it.
But no, I don't know.
Well,
It's
nice
like full of
citation as well.
No.
Okay,
no.
but, do you-
Anyway, I want to say my point.
Fine. He's getting
So when
angry.
you turn away from Allah, this is another qareen. The other qareen is a bit more powerful, and then those were much more stronger. So when you turn away from Allah, basically Allah turns away from you, and then that's when you just go through a really bad path. So it's like you need to utilize that anger towards the kids sometimes if they really seem like they're going down a really bad path. But again, you initially come with a very you're quite gentle. You try to explain things properly, use examples as well. That's the way I see it. But you need to showcase that this is bad, this is negative. You can't just be like, it's okay, you get over it. Da, da, da. You have to showcase that
It's a
form of anger.
phase.
Yeah, it's a phase, those sort of things. You have to showcase that as adults or anyone that's older. You have to show some form of negativity towards them and show that you're not really pleased with them, so that they can learn from those mistakes and it doesn't continue forever.
But wait, was the
He
ayah
heard youth and I saw his eyes.
No, yeah.
Open
because
up.
I was gonna add
was
to
the ayah that you were talking about الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس or no?
I don't know that actually.
No,
You
no,
gotta translate it for me.
الذي يوسوس في, the one who whispers within the chests of
No.
people.
It's
When you leave Allah.
no. It's
Qareem one?
exact. I can't tell you. I can tell you. Paraphrase the.
By all means, go for
So
it.
it's when they blame Shaitan, and Shaitan
Yeah.
turns around and says, "I never forced you to do anything.
Yeah.
All I did was merely whisper to you, and
Yep.
you decided, like yourself, to do these actions." That was the ayah. But obviously in Arabic.
That makes me think of Ramadan as well.
Yeah.
When people throughout the whole year they're blaming Shaitan. Obviously, it's like the major, or is it minor shayateen or the major shayateen? It's not all shayateen that chained up in Ramadan.
It's the major that are.
Kubar. Yeah.
So you might still get some waswas because some people just realize, oh, you know what? It wasn't the shaitan, it was me. Only Ramadan people begin to blame themselves when they're doing, if something bad is happening or they're doing something negative. But yeah, I feel like you want to say something about on youth. Yeah, please.
Go for it.
what you said was perfect. I think you can use anger to discipline. Let's say your kids, for example. That doesn't mean
time,
like to It means like exactly what you said, and adding on to the youth as well. Those that are angry, go to the gym, go to a boxing gym. Do you know what I mean? Do some MMA, youth clubs, for example. Do you know what I mean? So you'll discipline yourself when you do these things, because we all know going to the gym disciplines you, right? So when you're angry, like for the youth, this is a message to the youth, like go to the gym. Do you know what I mean? It adds on to what you said about discipline, anger and discipline. If you discipline yourself, the anger will drop down. Yeah.
I think
The anger will be controlled.
having someone like a teacher in a gym or like a boxing gym or a coach, someone that you can respect.
Yeah.
Because I think the first things that they do teach is that this is all for self-defense.
Yeah.
It's not just to go and start out lashing out at people. This is for competition and for self-defense. So a lot of people that I've met that do MMA and boxing, they're some of the nicest brothers
Yes.
ever. But you know that if you get on their bad side, just knock you out. They'll just knock you out.
know,
Finito.
This is why it's so important to have like things like Akhihood and things like even forget Akhihood, for example, but like your local masajids having youth clubs and stuff, because I don't think there's one person in this room that can say growing up they didn't have moments of anger or they weren't an angry child, especially boys. I don't know what's wrong with us, yeah, but
Hormones.
yeah, maybe, but it's true. Like boys grow up angry. We like to blame things, and we like to we don't know how to control our emotions necessarily in the best of ways, and those who do get cussed for being able to do it so easily. That's the truth.
Yeah.
That you're not a man, you need to do this, or you man up, or whatever it may be. And I think noticing that as a child, we had to witness that, or we went through that rather. As now we're adults, we have things like, again, forget Akhihood, like your local massages, youth clubs, or other organizations that do things like this. I think it's so important because, like you said, you can be that person in the gym or that MMA teacher or whatever it may be, helping the youth, release that anger in a means of goodness. I just wanted to add that. I just think it's so important to have things like this. And if there are groups of brothers who, are doing stuff similar to Akhihood or even bigger, don't ever stop. Don't ever stop, no matter how hard it gets.
Subhanallah, you did mention about Akhihood as well. I've had some brothers, like I can't obviously mention their names, message me personally and say like, these events that we're doing have helped them.
Alhamdulillah.
You know what I mean, like
Same like
they've had problems at home with their parents or stuff like their relationships with haram relationships or halal, do you know what I mean? Like, and it's helped them a lot. Like I had one brother, for example, we had the West London football event, and it got cancelled that week. But he had plans to go and do haram. He cancelled those plans. He was like, nah. He was like, I can't must have bro, come. And like with him, like he didn't grow up like in a proper Muslim household. You know what I mean? More on like the liberal side, let's say. He cancelled those plans. I told him, I was like, come, you're gonna meet a lot of good brothers, some good souls out there, random people. And he was a closed book. Like Faraz knows this as well. Like I was always a closed book growing up as well. But getting into Akhihood as well, all these events, my mind's opened up a lot. And I told him, I was like, bro, you're gonna meet some amazing people. You've been used to some bad people in your life. Do you know what I mean? So come, you might meet someone that become your brother for life.
Companion.
And subhanAllah, he cancelled those plans that weekend. Obviously, it didn't. The football didn't happen, but he still didn't commit. Like he didn't go in to that thing. Do you know what I mean? And he messaged me every now and then, like, "Is there any football? Is there anything happening?" So it does help a lot. I'm not gonna lie.
What you said just it made me think of two things. The first is West London football needs to get back on track.
100%.
We'll just do
it's like-
foresight. That's
yeah.
we'll just do foresight, honestly.
We have to do something.
I
But,
got tops in
World
that
Cup.
chat.
yeah, but the second
Foresight,
thing
that's
is,
enough, man.
but the second thing is you said that when you joined Akhihood, your mind opened up. Yeah? People don't realize that. Okay, alhamdulillah, you know, we're in these positions where Allah's put us in these positions first of all, and we're in these positions where we're able to have these events and host it, etc. But people coming to these events don't realize we benefit so much from having these events.
100%.
Like me, alhamdulillah, personally, being part of Akhihood has benefited me tenfolds. Like even coming to the podcast, I use this as a very basic example. It forced me to do more research on the deen.
Yeah.
Forced me. How did the Prophet ﷺ react to when he was angry? You know, even the last one we done it on not forgiveness,
Dua
dua.
to our parents.
Yeah, appearance. Sorry,
Yeah.
forced me to look at it.
Yeah.
Like it encourages you to do better, because if you're in these positions, people look up to you naturally. So you have to be on the top of your game. And I think people just come and they think, oh no, they're good, they're that, they didn't realize we're probably benefiting more than they are.
One
go
thing,
for it.
One thing I saw, there was research conducted recently, I think it was at Oxford Uni, showing how much time men need to socialize in 1 week, and the average they should be socializing is twice a week. Say, for instance, you're going to the masjid and you're going to like these football events or anything like that, then you've got that ability to speak with people, speak with men. So it is important for us to have those sort of places where we can meet up, socialize, play football, go bowling. Shout out 16th November bowling.
That's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, inshallah. And I realized its benefit as well, because prior to us meeting, I wouldn't really meet my friends that much. But I feel like we speak quite often, alhamdulillah, and I've realized the benefit of us speaking often, and I've realized the benefit of us meeting up as well. Even sometimes if it's just once a week, there's a massive benefit to it.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought it's just something now, and I had to say it. I met you through Akhihood, right?
Yeah.
Snowden was the first time we met. And
Yeah.
we've literally become brothers ever since.
Akhihood
From my
retreats.
side, at least.
Every day.
Every retreat.
That's true.
Oh, sorry, my bad, my bad.
retreats.
Akhi retreats. Yeah,
Same
same.
mashallah, Allahumma barik.
Akhihood retreat. No, I'm joking.
You called me once, out of the blue,
Did I?
and you saved me.
What?
And I thought to myself,
You need to give it a lot of context.
Yeah.
I see.
How did he save you,
Can
bro?
wait, can I say in your ear if I'm allowed to say it?
If you have to think that, that's a problem.
Yeah. No, don't say it.
Okay, I'm not gonna say
Don't
it.
say it. Don't say
But you
it.
saved me.
Oh, for real?
I'm not gonna lie, you did save me. And I didn't say it on the call, but maybe from my tone of voice, I was jolly. Do you know what I mean? When you called.
Yeah.
And I thought, but remember, subhanAllah, how I mentioned, like criticize myself. I thought back step by step, all them like months, and then I thought, if I didn't meet AU back then, fast forward now, I would have like not been saved. Do you know what I mean? Because you called me in that exact moment, and it saved me. And subhanAllah, it's happened a lot of times where people have called me, and like it's perfect timing, and it's literally Allah saving me. Like
Yeah.
they had no reason to call me in that moment. It was you called me to, what was it? You drove past my house. You're like, I haven't spoken to you in a while. Like, it's, by a while means like a day or two. And
Okay.
it literally, but like all of us, man, like speak pretty much every single day. And he literally said to me
He
like,
exposed us, bro.
no, it's calm, why it's calm. No, but that shows the beauty of that.
But also,
Yeah.
I love how you attribute it to Allah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
well, like it is like
We're just the means.
the hikmah of Allah is insane. Like he made you call me in that moment.
Yeah.
Something hit your heart, your head, and said, "You know what? Let me call this guy," and you saved me. So I think to myself, if it weren't for Akhi retreats,
It's the wrong logo.
it's calm. It links.
To
If
be
it
fair,
weren't for that,
Akhihood came way before Akhi retreats.
Okay.
it's the OG.
Akhihood's the
It's
all
the
the
OG,
cousin,
yeah.
all the cousin.
Should I say something? I think majority of you know this, but some of the viewers don't know. Akhihood used to be a football team.
Yeah, that's how we started.
Yeah, it was a football team. Like just to give some context. Do you know this? So you didn't know?
I did.
Okay, just for the viewers' sake, then to give some context, really quickly, and I apologize.
No.
for interrupting.
You have to tell me.
It used to be a football team in lockdown, and then I came back from Umrah, and I looked at the team, and it wasn't the way. You know how we started it, all Muslim brothers, stop for Salah, etc. I'm not saying we didn't stop for Salah afterwards, but it went from a full Jama'ah to like 3 people that stopped for
yeah.
Salah. Not because the Muslims weren't doing it, it's because as the club grew, a lot of non-Muslims had joined, etc.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you don't want to say no to them because it's a forms of da'wah, yeah?
Yeah.
And then I realized the reason I started the football team was for da'wah reasons.
Yeah.
So bun the football team, let's just make it full
Yeah,
da'wah
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
you know?
Mhm.
But that's how Akhihood started. And it started with just a simple phone call of me being angry. Literally, me being angry
About to say his name. Editor.
to I'll say the Nash, Hashim, and the editor.
Yeah.
And me literally being angry, saying to them, bro, man, like, I used to raise money for this charity. What happened? We flopped. Like, I was just venting. As you lot said, it's sometimes good to speak to
yeah.
people, just letting out my frustrations. And they went, why don't we just do it? And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, there's 3 of us. Why
Best
don't we?
mentality.
Yeah, why don't we just, why don't we just get back on it and start? And it was so funny. Me and the Hashim, I say the Hashim because he's very unique. No, but we spent, I think, 30 to 40 minutes trying to convince the editor to like be part of it.
Yeah.
But the editor in the first minute said he was on it, but we still spent the next 30, 40 minutes trying to convince him. And alhamdulillah, literally we started. A month later, we got another brother on it, which is still with us. A year later, 3 more faces joined. A few months later, they're doing podcasts. Like,
Yeah.
alhamdulillah, like, a lot happened. Okay, it's only been, about a year and a bit. But a lot's happened since, alhamdulillah. And there's just so many benefits. Like, Allah puts people in your life for a reason. And sometimes those reasons are learning curves for you to either better yourself and the tests and trials. And sometimes they're there for you to do khair and to better the people around you as well. And you just got to see everything as Allah's done this for a reason. What's the reason? Sometimes we won't always realize it.
He's got the hikmah, we don't.
Yeah, we won't always realize it. And sometimes it's better we don't. But sorry, I don't know what you were talking about. I just went on a massive tangent.
No, it's perfect because Faraz knows this as well, and the editor. Before Akhi retreats, the first one,
We need a new name for the editor.
A beloved fish.
the fish.
No.
That's
crazy, bro.
That's like, and we have to elevate him. We have to elevate him.
Yeah.
Male or
Our
woman,
son.
every edit.
Our fish.
No, the chief of what was his thing on LinkedIn?
That was supposed to LinkedIn. That's not such as LinkedIn.
the chief of creative something design or
Creative
something.
director.
Creative director.
Yeah.
The creative director.
The creative
Coral
director.
Reef.
Coral Reef.
Before the Akhi retreats,
Hawla
he knows this.
wala quwwata illa
He knows this. I didn't want to go. I'm not gonna lie. This is before I knew you guys. I didn't want to go.
You told me
So
this
that's
as well.
long. Whatever.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and then it was literally like days before. Faris and what do you say, chief of staff? What's his name?
Creative director.
Creative director. He goes, come, whatever.
Yeah.
He's creative director for Akhi Retreats as well.
Yeah, Allah barik. So yeah, he told me, he's like, come. And subhanAllah, the hikmah of Allah, Allah's alim al-ghayb. He knew in that moment, I'm going to need Ayub. I didn't even know Ayub
You're
back
gassing
then.
me too
No.
much.
I'm guessing it's Allah.
Yeah,
Allah
yeah.
sent you. I'm going to say it straight up. Allah sent you. In that moment, I met you at Akhi Retreats.
Yeah.
Fast forward half a year, let's say, 6 months.
Has it even been 6 months though?
I think it has. My
Triple
trip
zero.
back to 4 months.
April.
About
End
to
of
reach
April.
that,
End of April. What are we in now?
May, June, July.
October.
Yeah.
Oh, 6 months. Okay.
Oh, I got it on the dot.
On the dot.
Yeah. Half a year. And you know what's mad?
Anyway, as I was
just
saying,
on that trip, we didn't speak that much. It was more after the trip. We were just talking.
yeah,
consistently.
subhanallah.
Yeah.
It was at Birmingham with the chili cheese bites.
Yeah.
With Zakaria
yeah.
and the guys as well. Yeah, subhanallah. And then fast forward 6 months, You saved me.
SubhanAllah.
That's insane.
You saved me as well.
I saved you as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you saved me as well. Don't
Oh,
get
relax.
twisted. No, no,
But he saved me a different way. Like I can say, it's like, I shouldn't big you up too much to your face, but I feel like I do the opposite so much, so it justifies me bigging you up. On that retreat, it was the first one that I had ever done, yeah, and obviously people go at different speeds when climbing the mountain.
Yeah.
You know the bloody cameras on you as well.
No, do you know why now? He's like,
But it was the first one, and Ayub straight away, wallah, soldier. He said, "You go to the front, I'll be at the back with all the slow comers. I'll bring them up, blah blah." Bro, I don't know what torture you went through at the back.
I wanted to benefit from being in the back.
Really?
Yeah, it was nice. Alhamdulillah. It was
He's
good.
selfish.
No, it was
No,
good.
but he like
Took it easy.
that saved me because naturally I have to obviously encourage, but at the same time I have to lead from the front. Like, how do you lead from the back and the front at the same time? You can't. You need people to help you.
he took weight off your shoulders.
Bro, he took so much weight off my shoulders.
Speaking of weight on your shoulders,
And this. The back. Oh no, forget that. That's
we
fine.
benefited.
We spoke about the
we
bag.
ate the sandwich on the bottom.
We
ate
spoke
the
about the
sandwich
bag
on the
before.
bottom.
We
We
spoke about the
benefited.
bag.
We benefited. That
did,
sandwich, I don't know what was in it. I don't know who made it.
That sandwich was not sandwiching,
But
I did the job.
It done no, it done more than the job. We were
Saved us, I
so
can't lie.
hungry.
You saved us.
But you know, that phone call I got was like, Forrest, are we mad? We ate a sandwich.
It was so funny because it's the first time they've met. He was like, "Oh, like it's not nice." I was like, "Bro, forget Faraz, we're eating food," because I know him. He's calm with it, and he easily go to my bag. It's not that deep. I was like, "Forget Faraz, we're eating it."
I was so angry though when we opened the bag and I see shoes in there, clothes. I'm like, why did I carry his trainers all the way up and all the way down? And he never wore them. He didn't even wear them.
It was a mess. It was a mess.
Yeah, thanks. But yeah, we went off a tangent. But no, in terms of like, I guess it goes back to companionship a little bit.
I was
It's
gonna say
so
about that.
important to have good brothers around you. So important. And they can help you in moments of anger.
Yeah, 100%.
Like the editor every day.
Yeah,
Don't get angry at football. Don't get angry at football. But it helped. That one time it helped. When I was about to literally like lose it, the editor in my head, don't get angry. And you know how he speaks.
I was gonna say
That in
you
itself
do
is
it.
it makes me angry.
Everyone needs that editor in their life. Everyone needs a editor in their life.
I know. I think everyone needs for more context. They need a companion that they can think of, and they're like, you know what, this person has advised me to stay calm, and then they will always have to think about the best of examples, the best of humans. That Rasul send them. They will always.
That's the best
become as
companions.
well, yeah.
The ones that
exactly.
can advise you. And we were speaking about this recently, and the ones that don't advise you, I don't believe they're okay. They can be your companions, but I don't believe they're as close to you as you think, or you've done something wrong. You know, they say the one who's always angry, it's a very dangerous path, because when people stop advising you, you start losing yourself because there's no one to keep you in check.
Yeah.
You know, you don't receive those nasihas anymore because they don't want to give it to you because you might just bite their head off, and that's very dangerous. So you have to be someone who's very conscious of their anger, because you don't want to be that person that you advise me, for example, I switch at you, you never advise me again.
Yeah.
Now I might make that mistake 7-8 times again, but I will never know that I'm making a mistake, and no one will advise me because they're scared I'm gonna bite their head off. I ran out of things to say.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I think we all touched upon a lot of things, a lot of beneficial things. We talked about the dangers of anger. We talked about the medicines of anger. We've all given our thoughts on how best to deal with anger, and I think we did a good. We did service to the topic. Don't you?
Yeah,
Really say
Alhamdulillah.
something?
Very good question as well. mashallah.
They're very, very good question. I think
Deep ones.
yeah. There's this like for those that for the Akhihood podcast and this we're very off script right now. Yeah, but it's one of them ones. Look, I know this podcast isn't going to be for everyone, but it's for those people who come to this podcast. They see a bit of it. They look at the subject we've touched on, and inshallah realize that what, it's a subject worth doing some more research. Like there's so many more stories we could have mentioned, like Abu Dhar, for example. And this is one I told you when we were on Akhihood retreats where him and Bilal radiallahu anhu got into a conflict. I won't go into it because hopefully maybe a viewer will research that story. And what did Abu Dhar do to quickly rectify the issue? And then there's another one, it's Osama bin Zayd, I believe. And I'll say this one because again it's to do with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and how beautiful it is that when you are not always angry, when you show you're not angry, it has such significance. Because he was always cheerful. And then when he was angry, so Osama bin Zayd, they were in a battle, And just before he killed someone, the person done the shahada, and then he had killed them. Now he went to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he told him, and he said, I killed him because I thought he was just saying it to save himself from death. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was upset, very upset, and he said, do you know what was in his heart? Like, you're saying he just said it for the sake of, but do you know what was in his heart? And the significance of this is because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam wasn't always someone who's angry, upset. It affected Osama bin Zayd so much that he said that I would have wished that I had became Muslim after the event, meaning that my slate would have been wiped clean. Not obviously, like, you have to explain that a little bit because someone might think, why do you want to become Muslim after? But meaning that his slate would be wiped clean. That's how much it impacted him. Yeah, I'll let you do your final remarks. Sorry.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, I think when I first gave the question about how can we utilize anger in a positive way, it's I had that in mind with the current ongoing situation in Palestine, in Lebanon, in Syria, and Yemen, and a lot of parts of the world. How, you know, us as a ummah, we might be frustrated about what we see, but I think the number one important thing is to never lose faith in Allah, never lose hope in Allah, and you know, the victory is gonna come. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح رأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفر إنه كان توابا. And with that, I would just like to say thank you, brothers, for talking, giving your opinions, giving your information, and yeah. Assalamu alaikum.
Waalaikum salam.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.